All right, welcome back. Um, we kind of left off right at the end of battle. We didn't even get a chance to kind of look around or loot or do any of those fun things. We were strolling along through the jungle. We'd followed kind of a bit of an actual road, more like a worn path that had been worn by many people coming back and forth over a time. And so we were kind of leading that road. Ultimately, it was headed south southwest over towards the corner of the Savage Lands, trying to get out of Orc Country. And as we were just kind of walking along, we got ambushed from two different sides by what appears to have been multiple clans of orcs all working together. Capricious, at least, seemed to think that that was pretty uncharacteristic for the clans to be working together. Um, as they just kind of kept coming out, jumping out of the bushes one by one, they eventually whittled down the majority of your mercenaries, with only two grizzled veterans still surviving the tale. And several of y'all taking a pretty reasonable beating coming through the actual battle itself. We just got a moment's breather as we kind of all begin to collect, and then we kind of left off with Carr beginning the search for each of these different clans, looking for religious clues to kind of figure out what was going on with the orcs that were involved. So before we take off into that, I'm going to go ahead and pull up our parcel. So we kind of do a quick once over, gather all the bodies. We begin looking for religious artifacts and some other things, but here is what we've got.
Hmm.
A surprising bit of actual coinage on orcs. Not really known for their own gold currency, using money as their own form of trade, and a lot of these coins look like they're stamped um, from other nations. A lot of which look like they have some of the seals and symbols that you saw in Camden itself. So it looks like a lot of Camden coin mixed with some from all over.
So there's nothing quite like they're not wearing anything unified, I suppose.
Yeah, there was nothing that was like, even though they're all from obvious different backgrounds, that there was no articles or like, anybody who were wearing like, the Solidarity red armband or anything like that. There was nothing making them look like they were kind of coming together um, separately. There were a couple of the war leaders, and they had a couple of war horns that did look to be of similar kind of construction across the war horns. But in general, each of the groups that kind of came at you from either side was a very mixed hodgepodge of different stuff, and you can look through. So the one that you recognize very easily is the Groomsh orcs. You kind of recognize those as soon as you saw them. They're known for having one eye gouged out on purpose, and then the other eye, as part of their ritual into initiation, gains some actual magical power to it, and it glows gold. And even after they had perished and died, the eye itself stayed lit in gold for a long while. It's like gold with like a red center, and they it wasn't until like you started gathering the bodies, started looting, and some a bit of time had gone by that light that's almost in the back of their eyes that's glowing around begins to fade.
Ugh, that's unsettling.
Uh, there are some others that are notably different. You could see some religious markings on several of the others, but with the role that I had written down, that nobody had recognized what any of those different clans were, just that they were different.
As we were going through stuff, I would probably mention specifically to Carr and Lodrin, but also to the group in general, that Capricious had mentioned that there was rumors of a necromancer in the area trying to go after this thing, and basically just wondering if there's anything we can do to prevent the bodies from being fodder for his experiments.
Always found that cremation tends to stymie any sort of reanimation.
True. That will also send up a smoke beacon of where we are right now. But that's... Do you guys think that would be worth it? Worth doing?
He would possibly have to be here actually to resurrect them. Like here right now.
Izzy will pull out her jug and say, I could conjure up some oil. That might speed things along.
You can see that Capricious is a bit nervous to the idea of signaling more location, but also kind of defers. You know, we know we've heard the necromancers out here, but you're the ones that have dealt with them. Is this the kind of which one is more dangerous? Potentially calling more, or potentially leaving some for his future army?
Right now? Maybe calling more. If we hide them, it might be more difficult for them to find them. If he can't find them, he can't raise them. And if we hide them, then they may not know that there was a battle right here. Although it seemed like kind of an ambush, so they might know that anyway.
Yeah, I
But
felt like
still.
they was waiting for us.
Very difficult to hide corpses outside of magical means. The friends and the critters and the vegetation always lead you to them.
Well, we are in a jungle. Maybe that cat that was following us might eat them.
Yeah, I was just thinking about our pet kitty cat.
If everybody's kind of done looting, Izzy will start like pulling the bodies off into some vegetation and kind of into bushes and stuff.
So
Yeah,
this might be a bit gruesome, but can he reanimate them if they don't have a head?
don't know. I don't know how that works. Some of them were all kind of jumbled up, so I don't know if it needs to be a full body or if he can just assemble them from pieces. Like some of the ones we fought had like pelvis heads, didn't they?
Ah, yes, the Dismortune.
So I'm not entirely sure if that matters.
I'm picturing in my head like we take off all their heads and then burn them, and we're sitting around a fire of um, heads, and we have to have the conversations like, "Are we the baddies?" Well, memories.
Yeah, Izzy will just kind of pull them off the road into the bushes and try to kind of cover them up with vegetation as best as she can.
It would be, in general, hard to hide that there was some kind of kerfuffle here, given
Yeah.
that there was a giant eruption of fire and thunderous whatever from underground that, like, literally blew up the ground all over the place.
Not to mention blood.
But, yeah, the blood will go away over time.
That just needs a good rain or something.
We are in a rainforest, so. But yeah, the charred earth, the scorched earth that happened, that's probably gonna be the hardest thing to hide.
Do we want to toss all this stuff in Lumo's bag? Or can it? I don't know how much more space he's got in there.
I'll leave it
He's
party
sold a lot
sheet.
of stuff.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the party sheet and he can drag it over when he gets here.
Okay. The lion's head one is pretty neat, though.
Yeah. But yeah, none of us can detect magic, right? Because I can't.
Oh, wait, I can. With my Rod of Alertness.
You can't identify the.
I can't identify it, but I can see if it's magic or not. I'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, because you can pretty much cast that at will with the rod, right? Is it it's not a charges thing, is it?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
Lay everything out.
activate the detect magic, and then you can see that like you pick up all of some of rather decent looking weapons and armor from them all. That turns out to be mostly mundane, except for the two obviously well trained swordsmen of the orcs, the ones that actually moved with finesse and tactics and deft trained movements were very obvious. Those two had +1 longswords. So they're going to give off that same kind of transmutation aura that was apparent on the magical weapons that you used to have before they become more evolved.
Okay. I'll just point at those ones and say these ones are glowing.
One of the war horns. So you pick up 3 war horns from each of the war leaders, and one of them gives off a pretty potent magical aura, and then one of the signet rings held by one of the orcs, the one that's the Eye of Grumsh, has a very faint magical aura, and it is it's the one from Eye of Grumsh because it's literally like a gold ring that's in the shape of a football, if you will, almost like an eyeball, with a gold inlay around the side to kind of curve the outside of the actual center of the eye itself, and then inset is an actual a gemstone that is multicolored of gold and red gemstone that's in that place.
So I will point those out along with whatever color the aura was. I will kind of describe it as how the crazy old wizard described it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this one's explodey, or this one changes things, or this one, like very layman's terms. She doesn't know magic, so she just knows it is magic.
Well, just knowing is good. So.
I can't tell what they do, but it'll be something to look at for later.
Mm-hmm.
Can I actually put one of those orcish warhorns on my belt?
Sure can.
I was asking the party if that's okay with them.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, you know more about both horns and magic than the rest of us, I think, so...
It just might be helpful to have it easily accessible.
Note that only one of them had the magical aura. The other two seem to be just similarly crafted. They all three look like they were the same, but only one is imbued with magic.
Right.
Well, I don't want the magical one.
Oh, you just want a regular one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Not until we find out what that magical one does.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess Luma will put them in his bag for now.
Yep.
And I guess that's it, right? Should we keep going?
Yep. Hide the bodies while you were identifying things or detecting things.
Alright, Izzy, you're leading the body hiding expedition. If you roll me a survival check.
That'll go well.
Hey, wait.
It
what?
went okay.
I thought it's... I saw 19.
I
Yeah.
thought it said 19 too.
Oh, it looked normal on my screen.
Thanks, well,
We all see the 19. I was like, oh, that's fucking great.
It's like I was going to say she called it. That's going to be great. Okay.
Called shot.
I mean, that might not be the best place. Let's just try over there a little bit more.
Well, it's the the bodies themselves were, she was able to find a place okay, out of the way, hidden. They seem to be fairly hidden, but it was more of a matter of hiding the bodies, but they're still obvious, ruts where a body was literally, you could just look at it and see it. The body was literally drugged to a place that's just now in the bushes. Sure, you can't see it, but anybody that walked by that knew anything
Just smear marks.
knew exactly what had happened here. So Steen kind of comes back over a little bit and goes, let's at least... uses his foot to move things around, move foliage, make it look a little more natural in certain areas. You can't do anything about the giant literal eruption of earth that took place on the road. But
I mean, this might not be the best camouflage because jungle is not my thing. I'm like Bob Ross in these bushes here. I'm like little leaf here. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah.
This orc corpse needs a friend. Everybody needs a friend.
while y'all are moving the orcs off to the side, Capricious and the veterans will move the other mercenaries' corpses to the opposite side of the road that y'all taking all of the other corpses to, kind of off away from all the others. They'll drag the other mercenaries and off into the brush. Steam will come back over and do the cleanup on that, but with the veterans' help. But when you can see that he goes over, he kind of says a little poem recites a little poem over their corpses, and when he finishes, he takes gold coins and puts across the eyes of each of the mercenaries as they lay in the bush.
Izzy's not gonna interrupt that ritual, but she might ask Capricious, like, this might be a little bit not so tactful, but do they have anything that we should take back? Like, I don't know, anything to their families or something that we shouldn't just leave out here in the jungle?
He just kind of shrugs. If they made arrangements, they didn't make them with me.
Okay.
Damn.
I hum a dirge on the sideline. I don't get my instrument out. I don't want to be too noisy, but I do hum.
It's like, the gold will leave as payment rendered for a job well done. Perhaps they weren't the ones that should have come along the journey, as they were definitely ill prepared. We could have mustered better troops, after all. If the ones I'd sent for had come, these wouldn't have had to die needlessly. But their sacrifice let us live, so we might as well remember that.
Izzy just nods. Internally, she's wincing at leaving the gold book behind, but she doesn't say anything.
Alright, we better not linger here much longer. Why don't let's gather the cart, get it around the mess, and get on down the road before someone happens across this scene.
Izzy will walk ahead with her rod. Ooh. Nice, kitty. She'll. Do we hear that? Or
Yes. Yes.
Okay. How close?
Closer than when it was, like, when y'all were still traveling down the road, and you could hear it from the tree line. It was still, like hundreds of feet away. This, is, pretty close. Like, not like in the bush right next to you close, but, no more than 100, 150 feet out in the jungle.
Lodrin, can you send a image to that cat?
An image?
A thought? A vision?
Perhaps. What do you have in mind?
Easy lunch down the road.
Okay, Legion's going to use Druidcraft to 30 feet behind them make a sound of a rabbit in distress.
You hear the growling in the distance, and then silence.
Okay. Time to
If
go.
he is anything like me, he will be very displeased at finding trickery such. We
Well, I
should
mean,
be
was that near the direction where all the dead corpses were?
It's so like we're all relatively close, within like 30 or 40 feet of the road is as far as we ever got, and it's far off, like northwest, like 150 feet, like somewhere more north, maybe even the northwest, out into the deep jungle. Like right here along the edge, it's kind of sparse, but it isn't. I mean, even right at the edge of the screen, like you can't even see into any further in, just because of how dense the vegetation just immediately gets as soon as you were to get off the map in either direction, north or south.
I'm gonna start walking forward with my machete and my rod of alertness.
Forward, like out towards the
Well,
jungle.
The direction that we were heading in before we got jumped.
Okay, yeah. So we were headed west, along this path. You see Capricious, getting the veterans and trying to get everybody kind of gathered up, and let's go ahead and leave the thing to its meal and see if we can't make some kind of camp by the evening. We should be getting closer to the ridge, closer to those mountain ranges. Maybe we can find the path.
Lodrin's gonna jump out ahead of Izzy, and you'll notice him kind of like talking under his breath to the plants and foliage as he moves them out of the way and hangs some vines behind other limbs, trying to stay out ahead of her blade.
And I want to be watching for the tiger or cougar or whatever we heard, so that if I see it, I can cast animal friendship.
Okay. So we all kind of begin pushing forward down the forest path. It was just barely after lunch when we had got ambushed, and so we trudge our way through west, and then as the evening moves forward, you can see that the path just begins to thin. It was fairly cleared out along this stretch for a ways, but as you continue west, it starts to move a little bit south, and then the further you go, the more dense it becomes. It's still an obvious path, but one that's maybe less heavily trafficked as the area that y'all were going through before.
Oh, thank you.
The
That is
afternoon
much better.
kind of wears on a little, and the sun begins to set.
Woo.
Can we keep an eye out for a good place to make camp?
Yeah. So those that are kind of trained in those arts want to kind of scout out and look for using survival to find something that's hidden, safe, secure, good terrain, any of those kinds of things that you might be looking for specifically as a place.
I am not trained. I usually sleep on a boat.
Who the heels?
So yeah, anyone that wants to kind of keep an eye out for that is a good stopping place.
Nope.
Whenever somebody finds one, I want to cast the tiny hut.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, so we find a place off the path. So it takes a little bit of Lodrin's maneuvering through, and then Steen locates this place that's kind of hidden behind a little grove, and then there's a little bowl opening with a bit of a mountain hill like on one side, which blocks the wind and vision from the lake, and then the hill kind of comes up and over some in a way that could even kind of protect a little from the above for different elements. Rain, or even if you wanted to start a small fire underneath, it looks like it's something that you could keep contained without smoking you out, one, and without making nearly as obvious of a straight up smoke signal for the light. So, Bijou creates a little hut, a little dome protecting it from the foliage. Like colored as the foliage around, so it kind of blends in with the rest as you find a place to sleep for tonight. As you're kind of setting up your camp and you see Bijou going through her ritual, you do hear that cat, but this time like quite a bit far off in the distance. But it is still somewhat north of you. So either it's a different cat, or that cat is still tracking you. If it's the same cat, then it must be tracking you in some way.
I've asked Lodrin if that's normal behavior for something to follow us so far.
You must understand that we are encroaching upon its domain. I'm sure it's just curious, if maybe not a little hungry.
I would hope it would prefer the already dead orc to, half elf.
Oh, the great cats of the world are marvelous beasts. They really do prefer the hunt versus the meal at the end.
That doesn't make me feel better. But at least it can't come in the hut.
Who will be taking the first watch tonight?
I can.
Yeah. I'll take second watch. Or last. It doesn't matter.
See me do a little bit of chanting. Let me find it.
I'll take last watch.
It's for the first watch.
It's a short rest to attune to something, right? Like an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Capricious kind of pushed us pretty far. Didn't want us to slow down or stop along the way, just to put more distance between any other orc clans. That seemed to be the part that made him quite nervous. He didn't seem to care much about the cat. I mean, obviously, when it growls and it's close, it's like okay, maybe that shouldn't be the biggest thing that we're concerned about, but it's still a big scary cat,
Yeah.
Well, before I rest, I will cast Guardian Faith, but it'll be a large cat. Just a bit outside our camp, a bit outside the light.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
And so, what was our rest order again?
I'm
In
going
our
last.
watch order, rather. So it was Steen last, and then who was Izzy was first. Is it?
Yeah.
I'll go next to last.
Okay. If you
How
will.
many?
Sorry.
Just how many do we need?
4 is minimum. The veterans are going to rotate in and assist as well.
Okay, I was gonna ask about that if they would.
Capricious is not, and typically, I say Bijou has not in the past. I have, and then Lodron had not in the past. So that's what I had down. So we'll see. I mean, if they want to take a watch, also like to be with someone on a watch. If we wanted to get doubling up on watches or something, we almost have enough to do that.
Lodron's definitely gonna need the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I have my rod, and I can use my spells from it too to help out.
Okay, I need a perception check and a D100 from everyone on watch.
Oh no. Perception!
See if this goes. I
You
don't
see
know
the
if this-
trees.
Yes, I do. Yeah, but I made up for it.
Ooh.
I'm also going to rotate out my detect evil and good and detect magic every. I don't know. I don't know how long I'm on watch, but every 15 minutes maybe.
Yeah, it's about a 2-hour watch.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Izzy's up first. As you're on your watch, Izzy, kind of peer into the trees. Looking around, you can hear the chirping of insects and different birds and the like. You had heard the cat off to the distance right before you had started to set up camp, but you hadn't heard anything. And then, kind of as you go, you're on your watch, and then you're kind of skimming through, and you kind of look up in the trees, and you see what looks like, this beautiful, clear night, that you can barely see through little bits of the canopy, and you see bright glowing stars, and you kind of look through the tops of another trees, and then you kind of have to do like a little bit of a double take because you see some, what you first thought were bright glowing stars, but when you kind of look back, you can see that they're a little more golden in color and a little closer. But at the top of the trees, you see just 2 very faint glowing eyes.
So because there's 2, I know it's not the orc eyes glowing. I assume it's that cat.
You try to look in, try to see if you can see a silhouette, but in the blackness of the night, all you see is the glowing eyes. And you look at them close, and you can see that they are cat-like eyes, way off in the tree line.
I switched to my detect magic. Is it close enough that that would even work?
What's the range on it? Is it 30 feet or 60 feet?
30 feet.
It would not.
Okay. I'll keep that up anyway, just in case. But as long as it's just watching, I'll just watch it back.
Okay. after a little bit of time, you still try to keep your due diligence about keeping, eyes on everything else. You look up, it's unmoving for at least like 30, 45 minutes, just there. And then after that, you kind of look around just to kind of look behind you. And when you look back, it's gone.
About how far away was it?
It's kind of hard to tell the distance, but it's it was up in the trees, maybe 50, 60 feet over and then up.
Okay. I just kind of remind myself that it's like Lodrin had mentioned, we're traveling through its territory. It's probably just curious. I'm just gonna keep an eye out and not leave the bubble.
All right. Luma also rolls a natural 20 for his perception skill,
Nice.
and he notices nothing. Car.
I will mention at the end of my watch to, I guess Luma would have been next, that I did see the cat pretty close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely keeping an eye out specifically for that, or well, I mean, for anything else. But with that in mind, that it's very hard to see in the dark. Just the eyes was all you could see, and yeah, Car, you are reasonably certain that your immediate surroundings stay clear through your watch. And Steen, you are also reasonably certain that your surroundings are clear through your watch. You don't even hear the insect.
Yay. Falling on deaf ears. It's the tinnitus.
Yeah. One too many battles.
You keep hitting my shield and you just keep it ringing.
All right, we make it through the night with a long rest. No war horns, no sign of any orcs. Just the little sign of the cat that is still tracking.
I'll mention it to the others too when we wake up, like the ones who hadn't been on watch.
You saw the cat?
Just its eyes.
Keep an eye on it. If you see it again, I'll talk to it. I'll let it know we don't mean it harm.
I'm not sure if it thinks that we mean it harm. It seemed like curious. It watched us for a long time.
Before we leave, I'm going to leave a little bit of rations, like set out for the kitty. And as we're walking away, which I know may not be right at this moment, but as we're walking away, I use my thaumaturgy to make sort of like a raven sound, like right at where the little bits of food I left were.
A little tuna bar. Yeah. Fancy feast. Okay. You can see now that as you can kind of get a new perspective on the daylight, Capricious is looking at his map, kind of looking at the area, doing some compass work. He seems to be fairly excited that they're reaching a point where that was where he thinks the path may be. Somewhere in this area is where they kind of happened upon when they were kind of ambushed last time. Maybe later today they can actually find this path as we get closer to the mountain side of the jungle here.
Before we head out, Could I try climbing a tree just to see what I can see around?
Sure, yeah.
I
Uh,
start cleaning up camp, trying to not leave behind as much of a footprint. But my perception is still pretty low.
Alright, great.
So-
And, so I think it, with given time, it'd be difficult to climb a tree. We're not looking at crazy high like redwoods or anything, and they're fairly large number of vines and the like to climb. It's just slow going, but you can make it to the top of a tree and look around. You kind of pick one of those, the ones that looks like slightly taller, so that you can get up, maybe up above the canopy level or close. The tops aren't. It's not, especially along a lot of the path that you've been on. The area around the path has been kind of sparse, but once you kind of move off into the dense jungle, like where you found your little safety spot to sleep, it's definitely almost solid cover for a lot of it. You know, there's the occasional patches where the sky comes through, so it's not like black underneath, you know, but it is definitely pretty dense. And you kind of make it up to the top, and you can see the jungle spans a long ways, almost in every direction. A little further south and a little to the west, you can see the mountains definitely peeking up from above, as they are, as Capricious thinks, fairly close. And you can see that there's kind of a gentle slope starting not far from here, as you kind of go to the west and to the south, as it kind of gently slopes up, and then right after that little bit of gentle slope, it's just craggy cliffs everywhere. They look real solid. At least from here, anyway.
Okay. I would spend just another minute or two scanning to see if I can see any movement, I guess, or smoke or anything like that.
Roll a
Bug.
perception. Okay, so you kind of look off on the distance, back like so south and west. You don't know anything out of the ordinary like that. But if you look back north and to the east, you can see a couple of different places where smoke billows up on the edge of the horizon. So miles away to the north and to the east. North and northeast, I guess, is what I meant to say.
So, how far would that be in relation to what we would have traveled the day before?
Probably on the other side of that still.
Yeah, I guess the thought might occur to Izzy that maybe it was the retainers that we sent back. If it was super far away. But anything closer, and that might be a threat.
If as dense as the jungle trafficking is, if it was something moving this way that had started a fire or camp or something, even if they traveled straight and y'all stayed still, it's more than a full day's march out.
Okay. Pretty satisfied.
Without some other shenanigans, of course. There's all kinds of shenanigans that always break the rules, but that's
Yeah.
under normal circumstances, that seems pretty logical. The fire's pretty far out.
So pretty satisfied she'll climb back down. Just mention the smoke far off in the distance to the rest of the group, but other than that, everything seems good. Getting close to the mountains.
So everyone kind of gathers up camp, gets back on the trail, and it is it takes a little bit of time to make your way back to the trail, but the trail is just so much easier going than the regular jungle. Just the regular jungle is nearly blocked at every go. Not only is it difficult terrain, but it's blocking terrain, so you have to take, if you will, from a game mechanic standpoint, take an action to move things out of the way, and then go at half speed. So it's one square, move not, and then the next square, move half, and then one square, move not. So you're really moving slow compared to just regular travel if you're moving in the jungle. So the path mostly is fairly open with occasional difficult terrain you gotta scramble over around. And so Capricious leads you back to the trail itself, and as you go further and further, it does wind more south. It was west with a little bit of south. Now it's more south than west, even as you kind of move through the morning. Right before lunch, maybe 10:30 or 11 in the morning, you round a corner, and right at the corner stands a large black cat just in the middle of the path.
Hey, Bijou, there's your cat.
What a magnificent creature.
I want to cast Speak with Animals.
Okay.
And I'll be like, hi, my name is Bijou.
What is your purpose here?
We're just doing a little adventuring. We're not here to hurt anyone.
One does not adventure wantonly and without purpose in lands dangerous as these. The orcs raid, plunder, death to all that enter. I ask again, why are you here?
I turn and I look at my dad and I go, what's that thing we're going after again?
So Capricious is like, the orb. He's definitely.
Oh yeah, to save the wizard, right?
There was a tower.
There's somebody trapped in there though. Supposedly.
Possibly?
Okay. So I turn to the cat and I say, we're looking for someone that's trapped in a tower and we want to help them.
And if you were to succeed in finding this tower, in helping this person, what would you do?
Probably go back home. We already did our part.
I see. You would leave these lands to the repercussions left behind by unleashing what lies within.
We're just trying to be helpful.
I see. And who is it you're trying to help? Yourself? Many have thought it quite helpful to help themselves.
No. We just want to help the person that's been trapped. Apparently they've been trapped a long time.
What if I told you that I was trapped for a long time?
I
And
would say
adventurers wanton, disregard for nature and its elements, are the reason for my captivity.
I would say that's very sad and not fair to you. And nobody should live captured or trapped.
Captured, trapped.
Are there more like you that need to be freed? Do we need to help you too?
It doesn't sound happy.
I am the last.
That's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
For 1,000 years, my people have kept this secret safe. This place hidden. Many, mostly with ill intent, come. And my kind have dwindled. We were hundreds. And over the last 1,000 years, there is now one.
And I'm sorry, what was your name?
You see the cat kind of rear up a little on its hind legs, let out a final roar as its form begins to change.
Izzy steps closer to Bijou.
Kind of like nod my head down, like, like trying to give respect to the cat.
This cat is huge, by the way. Like, it is way bigger than a tiger or lion, like in the wild, which is already a really big cat. Solid black, pitch black. And then as its form begins to change, it begins to shrink. And then its paws become hands. Its arms, the fur recedes, and you can see after the transformation takes place is a dryad. A very elderly female dryad.
Oh, hello.
I think you're the ones that I've been looking for all these years.
Can all of us understand it now?
Yes.
We sure hope so. It would be terrible that we traveled all this way to not be the ones you're looking for.
There were supposed to be signs. The one who was death and life. The thunder, the lightning. The song and the satire. The shield and the arrow. I think you are the ones I seek.
Oh, good. More prophecies. Shh. Sorry. It kind of sheepishly just lowers her sword.
Well, what can we do for you?
You seek the tower.
You do?
What do you know of its contents?
To be honest, I don't know a whole lot. I just know it's out here somewhere.
We know that it is a power and it is obviously being sought after by not one clan of the Greenskins, but apparently all of the clans working together. That bodes ill.
Yes. Only recently have the clans begun to work in unison. And is why I am the only one left. We guard the obelisk, awaiting the day where the right people with the right intent to come through, to be shown the path into the Valley of the Lost.
So you'll lead us there?
I can. The obelisk holds the power, and I am its final key. With the proper ritual, we can make visible the path that is otherwise hidden. We are not alone in this jungle, though.
Oh, we have quite an idea that we're not. There's some terrible creatures out here, like those orcs.
When the ritual begins, it will release some of the power, which be a beacon to those who know to look for it. I am afraid that whatever powers are unifying these clans know what to look for. Your entryway lies beyond that ritual.
And it will make the path visible for all people?
I can't say for certain if it would be only those present or not. The magic's dwindling over the last millennia could have repercussions. It could remove the illusion entirely.
Is there any way to hide the beacon?
I'm sure such a thing exists. Very likely, the orb you seek. But without it, we couldn't. I could think of no way. And with it, we would have no need.
Seems like a rock in a hard place.
Do you wish to incur the risk?
I'm not sure there's any other way forward.
Is there any way we can be? I guess there's no way we could be closer to where we need to go before we make that beacon.
It must be more than just the intent of necessity that guides your hand. You cannot make this decision on the lack of path alone. The risk you incur is not just for yourselves, but for all.
The risk must be taken. Balance must remain.
Now, well, hold on. If Edelmar is looking for the same thing that we are, if this is the only way forward, he wouldn't be able to get to it anyway. If this is not the only way forward, but we just make it easier to get there. Like Edelmar, I'm sure you wouldn't open the path for Edelmar if you were looking for somebody specific. Unless he could force you to do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
I cannot say that he doesn't also hold the power to activate the obelisk, or that it can't be learned by others. I also only know that this is the way that I know to go forward. It could be that some other way exists. I just don't know it.
I think we should risk it. If no one else knows the other way forward, not even the gods, because they haven't been able to find this place. Then this might be our best bet. Unless anybody else has another idea.
Your idea sounds good to me.
I think this is the only way out that we know of, the way to help.
Capricious has been kind of enthralled up to this point, where now he's, yes, this must be the way. Everything has pointed to here.
I kind of give him the side eye, like, really?
Why else would that information be there? Why else would the book have led me here when it would show no information for no other? Why else would all of the clues left throughout history lead to you and me here at this time for this purpose, if this were not the way?
'Tis easy to confuse fate and coincidence.
What do we need to do for this ritual?
Ultimately, you have but to sit and watch, and perhaps guard my back should something go awry. At the obelisk in our now ruined city, I will channel the power. I will perform the ritual. I will activate the obelisk. Its mighty transformational capabilities will lift this illusion for you, or for all, is to yet be unseen. When the ritual begins, power will be a beacon, and that worries me. Even if they don't come in time to stop the ritual, if they see it and they know it and they recognize it, they will come. Whether for us, for me, or for you down the road.
You could come with us afterwards. Maybe safety in numbers.
Let me see here. Almost take on like a mothering kind of quality to her smile as she kind of looks over at you.
No, I imagine her tree is here somewhere nearby.
If she nods.
Oh, right.
If I'm meant to live to the other side of this, what influence I can bring, I will lend. But I cannot go. If we're all in agreement,
Is it this obelisk? Is it far from here?
well, that depends. Sometimes the distance is greater than others. The jungle can be mysterious near the entrance to the valley.
So here's my thought. We do have allies. If this beacon is going to be calling who knows how many orcs or whatever down upon this area, if we tell our allies first, we may be able to help protect it. If the beacon is going to call them all here anyway, it may not be a bad idea to send for reinforcements first. What do you guys think?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with the plan. having our allies prepared and ready is always a good idea.
If time allows.
If it'll take us a few minutes to get there anyway, I can try using my sending stone along the way to contact Ileana. As long as they're not still preoccupied, and I kind of give Kara a wink.
Mm-hmm. So, trying to make sure I'm on the same page here. So the only way to find our path is to open up the path for everyone. That's what we're saying, right?
There's the risk anyway. She doesn't know if it will open it just for those present or those, or if after all this time, if the magic will just be gone.
Ileana was planning to follow us anyway. If it does open it up for everyone, then she'll be walking into a horde of orcs with no warning. If it only opens up for us, then she'll be walking into a dead end.
Just afraid we're gonna open up a reign of destruction on this place.
That would be terrible.
That's why I was thinking of bringing some of our own allies to help defend it.
I do think that most of the allies we have now may be preoccupied after the fight and recovery. They might not have much to give.
It's true, but we won't know unless we ask.
So looking to the Dryad. Sorry if I just missed it if maybe you already said it, but what were you said we were sent to you? What were we sent to do? What were we sent to protect?
I don't know that you were sent. I just know that someday the signs would show. For the ones I'm supposed to let through. I was part of the people that were drafted to protect the obelisk, its power, and the entry to the Valley of the Lost, against those that would seek it through ill intent. Those that would gain access to the contents that lay within could cause great injustice in the world.
So when we go through, we can't lose. We'll be giving the enemies of all of Ralidar a very, very, very great weapon.
We won't.
Izzy kind of shrugs and says, "Sounds like a Tuesday to me."
If you fight and lose, yes, a great weapon will be unleashed. If you fight and win, It will ever be a struggle before you. Or before all. If you don't fight, it's only a matter of time before they find a way.
Yeah, you said you're the last one protecting it. So we have to. There's nobody else to protect it after her.
I've been blessed with great amounts of life, but it is finite.
Let me call Ileana and see what kind of reinforcements we might be able to muster. I don't think it would hurt.
Alright, so you're gonna activate your stone and try to talk to her?
Yeah. Just with a mind that she's probably off doing her own thing. I'll just kind of make it a quick. Do you have a few minutes to talk?
What is it?
We've got to where we need to be, but it turns out we may need some amount of reinforcements. I'm not sure where you are at the moment, if that's something that you might be able to ask some of our allies about.
We're making final preparations. We should be off to Camden within a couple of days. What kind of reinforcements do we need? And where are you?
I'll give her kind of the Cole's Notes version. That we've met the Dryad and we're not sure if this door will stay open or if it's just going to be open for everybody, because apparently it's going to be a big old beacon for everybody to come down to the Dryad's home, basically. So if they follow us, they may either run into a horde of orcs or a closed door, or maybe both.
How long do we have?
As long as it takes us to complete the ritual. If you need us to hold off, we may be able to do so for a short time.
I could contact Nilar. He just left. Maybe get someone to send us over. Our castle's teleportation circle is still in its recharging state. So we won't be able to use it for a couple of days, but I could try to get some people to Camden sooner. And then however long through the jungle to get to you.
At the very least, I wanted to make you aware of what may be waiting here.
Well, let me try to gather some people up and we'll start heading your way. But how long did it take you to get through the jungle there? We might be looking at until right now.
What was it, like 4 or 5 days? From the city?
I think it's maybe a little hair longer than that. When you were to traverse down to the point before we had our ambush.
About a week?
About a week, yeah. And then so we might be on the 8th day. 8th or 9th day, something like that.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
You can kind of hear her, like, almost like kind of kicking herself. Like, I should have gone with you folks. Can't even take a couple of days without the world ending.
Oh, it's not ended yet. Plus, what's the point of having a world if you don't have a couple moments to enjoy it?
One way or another, whether it's orcs or a barrier or something, I'll bring what I can.
Thank you. And safe travel. Izzy would have had this conversation just in front of all you guys, so you probably all heard it.
Do you have a name?
I am Hyacinth.
Okay. Should we head to the ritual space then? Maybe before we perform the ritual, we can see if there's anything we can do to shore up any of your defenses, Hyacinth.
She'll nod. And then, very well, it is agreed. So let us make way. Perhaps we can delay what kind of timeline until they arrive?
It sounds like probably a week.
A week.
It's longer than I was hoping, but
It may be too long to wait with orc ambushes and whatnot. Because they know we are around.
mm-hmm.
Either way, we can decide. This way, she kind of walks off towards the edge of the jungle, and as she approaches this extremely dense vegetation that y'all have been struggling with off and on the areas outside of the path, you can see she turns off the path immediately. And as she approaches the edge of the jungle, the vines, they recede, the branches move, the leaves, the thorns, all of these things make a little archway that she just walks right through. So she's not even waving her arms, but as soon as she approaches the vegetation, it just automatically moves back out of her way.
I follow close behind her.
This way, the forest allows us entry, but it won't do so forever. Come, come.
I trot after her.
Is like as she's walking along, everyone kind of comes into this little archway that's created, And as soon as the last person comes through, the vines begin to move back into place all along the way. And you can notice as she's walking forward, like even like trees are bending out of the way, like roots that are, bulbous and kind of up and like big tripping hazards and just kind of blocking the path themselves. They sink down into the ground some. Like you even see one big tree like kind of pull itself out of the roots with its roots up out of the ground a little bit and move over a couple of feet and then resettle itself into the ground. She's just walking along this passageway, and as everyone kind of passes through, as you walk, the things kind of reorient themselves back to their original location, all as you walk through, following behind her. You head south for nearly the rest of the afternoon, and as evening begins to approach, she says that we should probably rest another night. We should be there mid-morning after we get up an early start. She kind of walks into a little space, and then you can see this time she kind of holds her hands like in a big like parting the sea kind of motion, and in a little bowl. Like a little clearing, entirely big enough for everyone to have space in. The trees, everything get up and uproot and just move out of the way to make this little bit of clearing. This place will do for the evening. So we all kind of make camp and we set out again for our rest.
Yep, I make the tent again if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take the same watch as before.
I'll put up the spirit guardian. I'll put up like some ravens in a tree.
Mm-hmm. The Dryad will say, Force tells me that large beasts and the orcs, they roam. They roam nearby.
They're here already. Do you know how close?
They're searching. I can't... It doesn't know distance. It just knows proximity.
Maybe we should set up an ambush of our own.
These orcs ride large beasts. These beasts trample all in their path.
Trample. It's gotta be something big.
It is a horror.
Does the forest know direction?
It does not. It only knows its kin and its bond and what is nearby, and it just knows that there are those of its kin, its friends, trees, that lived their whole lives together, are now without their companions.
they're destroying the forest where they walk.
Where the orcs don't cut and chop. The beasts trample and grind underfoot.
Well, I can do a quick scouting to see if I can find them before they find us while we're sleeping. What do you guys think?
Scouting wouldn't be a bad plan. But I'm not built for it. In this tropical land.
Yeah, definitely tropical. Very much a rainforest. Very dense jungle rainforest.
Touch you on the shoulder and cast guidance and tell you to go.
Okay, I do. And the mountains are kind of to our south, right?
Yeah, they kind of almost they kind of start from the south and they run up as a big curve that goes up and over and runs to the west.
Okay, so I'll do kind of I'll head out into the jungle and do kind of like a semicircle north and east-ish to see if I can hear or detect anything. I'll have my detect evil and good going and kind of try and sneak my way through the jungle.
So if we kind of look over at Ferox,
Yeah, it popped up kind of, I think, how you had it open probably.
yeah, so we're kind of right here. Right at this peak. Right where it goes from being kind of running north and south along the edge there, maybe a little northwest or to where it runs kind of due west for a little ways. So we're right at that corner, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll head out kind of parallel to the mountains and then cut into the jungle and do a semicircle around to see if I can detect anything.
Yeah, the jungle is very dense, especially once you leave the grove, and it doesn't magically move out of your way like it does the dryads.
Oh no, I am aware.
And so it's extremely slow going. As you kind of make your way around, out and around, stopping every bit, listening intently, maybe looking up, trying to see, hear anything. So let's roll some perception. You spend a good bit of time maneuvering around, trying to make outward circle around. You never run into any kind of sign that there's any kind of issue. Like you don't see any trampled over places, and these big beasts breaking trees and or orcs chopping or any of this kind of stuff. That should ring for a decent distance. you don't hear anything of the like. You don't see any signs of that happening. And you make a full circle out of decent distance.
Can I go out a little bit further and do another one coming back the other direction?
Yep. Roll a survival check for not getting
lost
lost
in the jungle.
getting lost in the jungle.
Oh, good.
You have a decent enough bearing. There's enough light still left before, the actual sun goes completely down, where it's not just dusk, because dusk would be pretty dark under the canopy. So you're still a little bit before that. You have a decent bearing of kind of knowing where the light source is. You can use that as your guide to make your way around for another. Go ahead and do another set of perception checks and a D100. Excellent perceptions.
Giggity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, making another loop around. I mean, you've taken a good bit of time this time, and by the time you make it back to camp, it is now pretty much full dark. Scrambling through here at the last little bit. Almost like I expected to be back. Like, uh-oh, did I get lost in the forest? And then you just kind of keep trudging forward, and then eventually you just pop into camp. Oh, good, thank God.
Oh. I forgot to use my guidance. Oops.
But across the whole scope, no sound other than whatever you needed to do to make your way through the jungle yourself. You didn't hear any big stomping beasts. You didn't see any broken down paths or hear any chopping or anything of the like.
Okay. That's probably enough. I'll go back to camp and tell them that I couldn't find anything.
We set up our watch rotation again, and because of our scouting, we got nothing. We'll make it through another night unhindered. And we wake up in the morning and Hyacinth says, "All right, let us return to my now forgotten home, or at least our area of congregation." As the morning goes on, a couple of hours in, she leads you to the square of a now very obviously abandoned and desolate little village where the huts are decrepit and falling apart, and there are huge stone walls up against the mountain. So when she breaks through into the edge of the jungle, there's quite a bit of clearing that comes this way, and you notice that it's right up against a mountain. And in the mountain, there is a path that kind of heads north, and then set aside on either side of this path, built into the mountain itself. It's actually quite hidden from a distance. It kind of blends in to the mountainside itself. are large stone walls, like 50 feet high, on either side of this path. You can see where there was once very large wooden gates that could have been attached to either side of these stone walls, protecting entry to a pass beyond. But those gates have long since fallen and eroded away. In the middle of the square, you see some bubbling pits of what appears to be tar. That is, little whiffs of steam comes off of those little pits. This is all that remains of which once was a nice little village.
And your people lived here?
Some of us. Not all were as I am. I prefer my tree, but some lived in huts. We were of like mind, even if not like in body, in all ways.
So not all of them were dryads.
She nods. But even those that weren't were blessed with longevity of life, well beyond the years of others. This place has a warped sense of time, and that time drones on as the world around it bustles.
Izzy gives a meaningful look over to Capricious.
He's just like, yep, knew it, I knew it.
I knew it the whole time.
This spire is the obelisk. Beyond, towards the mountains, the pathway narrows, eventually ends. But that end is really a beginning. And this obelisk is the key.
Not that I don't trust her. But would it be okay if I roll an insight check?
Yeah, sure is. Surprised we hadn't done it before now, honestly. It seems as though she's rather genuine about a lot of what's going on here. You can tell that she doesn't necessarily know exactly how the magic works. And of that, she's not trying to hide. She's not trying to hide that, but it's, there's still some, like, she knows how to activate it. She can perform the ritual, but not exactly sure what exactly it's supposed to do. Only that it's supposed to make it so that the path ahead becomes open. What the repercussions are, or any of those other things. More like her knowledge of it seems more like a folklore kind of thing, that she very wholeheartedly believes in.
I might just go over to Car and mention, I don't know if it might be a good idea just to ask Nalar about this, considering that he got all knowledge of magic and its workings dumped into him just a few days ago. I don't know if he might know anything more about this or not, if even Mistra doesn't know this place. If that's worth doing or not.
Couldn't hurt. So, yeah, I guess I will do a ascending to Nalar before we start doing some mojo here. Give him the a quick version of it. We have a way to show us the path. May open it up to everyone. Oh yeah, I can only do 35 words, so yeah, I'm just gonna
I
go
also have
briefly
my
that.
scroll and quill if we needed to.
Yeah, to the archwizard.
Phalanx. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now to the.
Yeah, to Braden of the phalanx. Yep.
Yeah, whichever way makes the most sense, I suppose.
That may have been the wrong button.
Okay, just making sure. Oh no, ambush!
Dun.
Maybe a bit preemptive.
But yeah, one of you guys will have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Naylor might have gotten the Coles notes from Ileana already.
Yeah, I was just going with what I said before.
Okay. Yeah, so you send to Nalar, Mr. talking about the obelisk and then having a path or finding a way to use the obelisk to find a path forward that's currently blocked or something.
And the path may open up for everyone.
And send a beacon of some kind.
So he would respond. I don't know this magic. I don't know about this blockaded path either. But if it exists, I would not put it past the resourcefulness of those that are still oppose us. This dryad, do you trust her?
So detect good and evil kind of vibes am I getting from her?
Good. Pretty strong.
So I just turned to Izzy. It's like he does not know this magic or of this path. But if it does exist, our enemies will be they'll be there sooner or later. He was questioning if we trust this dryad.
I think so.
Well, it's what we got and where we're at the moment. So
I think she knows about as much of this magic as any of us do.
Very old magic, I suspect.
Effective or single in purpose. You can trust her as far as this goes.
She's gonna say, we know they swarm the jungle somewhere, searching. Either for you, or for me, or for this place. There are strewn bits of armaments and objects that perhaps you could use as a defensive position. As once I begin the ritual, I cannot assist. If they get to me, I can't stop. If they take me out, then the way to you is closed. She's going to point out a few things.
Ooh, nice.
We look at the chat. I put
Ooh, yeah.
you get 100 resource points worth of stuff.
All right. So, where is she going to stand when she does it? Where she is now?
Yep.
Okay. So. Okay, so 20 points is 10 by.
10 by 10. So it's 4,
Oh, it's 10 by 10? Oh, wow.
10 feet wide on each side.
Uh,
Oh, okay. I's got a plan.
So just as a mechanics standpoint, the ballista are much larger than the magical crossbow turret. They do a lot more damage, but they must be manned, whereas the magical crossbow turret is a automated magical turret, if you will.
Ooh. Okay. So, do we have like anything we can drop to where we want to put it, or
Just use the box pointers.
can we stack crates? Is that against the rules?
No, see why not.
Okay.
If you the large crates, I mean, could be stacked, but they're 10 feet tall, so you don't have anybody that can lift something 10 feet high. Would be the only, I mean, problem that you'd run into.
Oh yeah, they're 10 feet tall. Yeah.
I have a couple of questions beyond what's on the resource list, if that's okay.
Okay.
The first thing is I would ask if Lodrin. I've seen him grow plants from nothing before, and I would ask him if it's possible for him to reinforce the magic that the Dryad already has in place here.
So I'm not really sure. Like I have spike growth, the spell level 2. I don't know what, if anything, I could do to like I don't know what specifically the Dryad already has.
Yeah, like in regards to what? Like, what do you mean? In helping her do the ritual, or
Well, I was thinking more in terms of like we'd seen her move the plants out of the way, and I would wonder if he had like a plant growth or something that could help her like make more and then tangle orcs as they came close if they were coming through the woods.
Yes, I do have something similar to that.
Like, because I was thinking if she's concentrating um on the ritual, then if he was kind of reinforcing that, maybe it could also be like make the terrain a bit of a hazard for them.
Okay, so the thing is, we don't have to keep them off the obelisk. We just have to keep her alive and chanting, right?
Yes.
Okay, how high is the, I guess, stone dais that the obelisk is on from the ground?
it's only a few feet up.
Okay,
Like it's
okay,
only like a 3 feet up or something like that.
okay, perfect. Okay, yeah.
And I guess kind of tied into that first thing, I would ask if it's possible to have the plants move away from the tar pits, that they might be out of the way, that we might light them on fire.
So one thing about the tar pits is they're basically boiling. I don't know if how clear I made that.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
they're already like the
They're
steam.
already hot.
Yeah, the steam's coming off of them. And every like little bubbles come up, bleh, and then
Okay, so those are
and
good.
they let off pockets of steam coming up out from underneath. Some kind of geothermal activity going on in the mountain underneath your. Maybe that energy might be part of what fuels the obelisk.
Okay, so just the first thing then, I guess.
So what are your circles?
Ballistas or crossbows.
Okay. Yeah, so remember you got 100 points.
Yep. Yep.
It is also important to note that you can get to the top of the wall. That wall is like 50 feet up.
Oh. Mm.
Are there stairs or something up to them?
Like a start off map.
Yeah. You don't have to just do the 50-foot climb from out here necessarily.
What kind of range do the turrets and ballista have?
The light ballista is 124.80. Crossbow turret is 104.
Okay, so they should be able to fairly easily reach anything on this map.
Pretty close. A true diagonal shot might be out of range. If they were mounted in the middle, they could hit anything.
Now, since the crossbow turrets are magical, does that mean they can't be turned against us like a ballista might be able to?
Technically true, unless there's, I mean, with the caveat of magic does things. So.
Yes, that's fair.
Anybody have any? I think Wolf is just kind of taking over the resource purchasing. Anybody got any input on?
Oh no, Lodrin would totally defer to him being the guy dealing with all the strategery from his experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Battle plan. Booyah. 2 magical crossbows. That way we don't have to give up any manpower.
Okay.
For the minor amount of damage. And we provide at least half cover from the towers if the enemy get there.
Yep. In a way,
And
they do have
I
a bit of a
reduce-
blocking capability themselves, just not as much. They don't block all directions like the crate kind of.
Mhm.
Things can climb over crates, but yeah, they
The hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then I'm in the way of physical contact.
Yeah.
Shield.
Yeah. Human shield.
The 10-foot. So do we have a little bit more
That
than?
makes it. Nope. That's exactly 100. That's a 10-foot. That's 15 feet high at the corner. About 8 foot high on the platform. Because you said the platform was like 3 feet
Yeah,
up.
you spent 20 too much.
Did I? The crossbow's a 30 piece.
Yeah,
the
that's
large
60.
40.
There's 20 from the big crate, which gives you 20. Gives you 20 left, which is only 4 or 5 foot.
Yeah, nuggies.
Or wait, yeah, 60 and 20 is 80. So you got 20 left. You got 4 or 5 foot boxes if you have a 10-foot box and 2 crossbows.
Still good. Wait.
Too many left. You can only have 4 of the 5 foot boxes.
Yep.
With 2 of these things.
Why are we doubling up on that on top of that 10-foot crate?
to make it a wall. A literal wall.
If it's a square crate, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. If you stack 5 feet on top of 10 feet, it makes it a 15-foot wall.
Yeah.
And then
But
someone
she's
could.
not. Oh no, because she's on top of the little platform,
Mhm.
right? Gotcha.
And then we could literally put someone
Like that's what you
Here.
got.
and they could actually shoot, or if anyone's ranged or wants to be kept safer, they could stand here and cast spells, or like where Lumo is.
You either have to
And
give up
still
a
have
box,
cover.
or you have to give up those 4 boxes that I've taken off, or you have to give up
Yeah, that's still fine.
like this.
Like that.
Oh shit.
Oh no.
That's the wrong button.
Yup.
Fix it. And we'll take a few minutes of break while he fixes it.
I didn't break it while I'm fixing it.
I wouldn't have broken if you didn't get too many things.
Input.
Being too greedy.
You're giving me control strategy. I mean,
Wolf, in a few more months as box boy, you're going to move up to cashier, and that's where the real money happens.
Does she have to stand right there on the corner?
There's 2. Yes, there's 2 glowing symbols that she says she needs to interact with at this corner.
Okay. Because like, if we could get her to move 1 square in either direction, she'd have
yeah,
1
we
wall
could use,
already.
we could use, yeah, exactly. That's. I mean, she still has that as a wall.
Sort of.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and take a pause here, and we can go get our regular drink and our bio and what have you, and then come back at 15 till.
I'll be here.
Moving boxes.
Well, yeah, and coming up with new ideas.